most of the time when something feels hard, it's because we're talking about it in a hard way. What does that mean? So if you're sitting around thinking, I haven't listened to my hungers for years, Corinne, this just feels impossible. Well, first of all, welcome to the club. Most of us stopped listening to our hunger at the age of about 3. A lot of you grew up being told to clean your plate. I used to do this to Logan all the time, and I actually heard this on a podcast, and I immediately stopped doing it because it was so subtle, and I didn't realize how it disconnects our children to their body. He would be eating, and as usual, Logan would lose interest. He was ready to go play. He was ready to go do something. He's ready to do anything other than eat. He had ate just enough, was ready to get on with life. But here's me. Are you sure you're done? Are you sure you don't want a few more bites? Maybe just eat a little bit more. You know, we're not going to eat for a little while. That language, most of us heard all of our life. And most of us do the same thing to everybody around us. And what we don't realize is it's a subtle way of telling someone, you should be afraid that you're going to get hungry. Or, hey, you probably don't know how to listen to your body. I know better. Something outside of you has more wisdom than you. So then we go through life, and guess what we're doing? We are going to restaurants and just eating everything that's served to us because something outside of us knows better as to how much food we should eat. Or take a few more bites. Why do you think so many of us will sit there and be like, well, I don't know. I think I'm at enough. I better just eat a few more bites just in case. All of that's just learned behavior. Now, the reason why it'll feel hard to stop it isn't because it's actually hard to do. Setting your fork down and not eating anymore is not a complicated process. The reason why it will be hard is because you're not used to it. You're used to doing what you've always done. And so stopping it will feel hard in the beginning simply because you're not used to stopping. And then there might be hard language that gets layered on top of it, like you might get hungry later. What if you're so hungry later you overeat? That's the part that's actually hard. So we want to listen to our thinking. So rather than saying, I haven't listened to my hunger for years and this feels impossible, let's remind ourselves in that moment when that thought comes up, here's how I actually want to think about this. I'm curious about my hunger signals. I'm going to be open to whatever happens. I bet I can learn from this. It's just new to me. The next thing that a lot of people think is, I can't believe I only drink 16 ounces of water a day. Like when you are getting down on yourself about like how much you sleep or how much water you drink and stuff, that makes drinking water hard when you're down on yourself, when you tell yourself, I don't like it. Okay, you don't like it. You don't have to tell yourself that 3,000 times a day. I also hate blowing out my Vegas hair. I put my extensions back in because I'm taking my niece for her 21st birthday, and I'm like, I'm going to put in my party hair. Well, guess what? This morning when it was time to blow it out, I didn't sit there and tell myself 1,000 times how much I hated it. I just went with, we're blowing our hair dry. It'll be over with before we know it. Just like if you're drinking water, just tell yourself, I'm willing to drink a glass of water before each meal. That's a lot better than sitting there talking about how much you hate it. Another one, I haven't gotten enough sleep since I had kids. And trust me, I get this. My son did not even sleep through the night until he was 8 years old. That first year, he never slept through the night. When he got to where he'd only wake up like 3 and 4 times a night, I thought, hallelujah, I could at least get some cat naps. I spent the majority of Logan's first 8 years of his life either sleeping on the floor with my hand up in his bed like this, because that was the only way he'd sleep is if I'd hold his hand. I can't tell you how, like about 2 years of my life, I had figured out how to rest I shoved his mattress up against the wall so I have a shelf so I could go to sleep like this. And I slept on the floor just so I could get my sleep. So I get it when we're tired. But you know, those years, what I didn't do, I didn't bitch and moan about it all the time. I didn't tell everybody that would listen about it because it made me feel gross. Now, I didn't sit there and think about how I hope this never ends. This is the most amazing thing ever. I didn't do all that. I just told myself, I'm willing to do what it takes. Period. So I always tried to get sleep when I could. Period. So a lot of it is like, let's make sure that we are thinking through things. Like, listen to how you're talking. Listen to what's going on in your head. And ask yourself, can I say this to myself to where it feels a little bit better? If I wanted to make this easier, what would I be thinking and doing? This is how you start the early work of challenging your thinking.